Welcome to Shrimperscast with me, Steve Mansfield.
And me, Paul Hill. On today's show,
Southend banked 3 points against high-flying Halifax as Sandat opens his account and Gus deposits 2.
embargone. Shrimpers get busy offering contracts to key players and John does not sit still.
We've got the first ever Shrimperscast Rumour Mill.
And we look forward to 2 quick-fire games against Eastleigh away and then Wealdstone at home.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Shrimperscast. I am here with Mr. Paul Hill. Paul, how are you?
Ahoy, I'm doing very well, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks, mate. I'm all good. We've got to, first things first, we've got to lay our cards out on the table.
Yes.
Our cards, no pun. We didn't put out a podcast last week. We had a bit of a break because, well, a couple of reasons. Firstly, Paul, you've been having some domestic issues, I hear.
Yes, very much so. The storm decided to blow the felt for my loft conversion, followed by 6.5 hours worth of rain. Working its way through and coming everywhere, through the light fittings,
Nightmare.
Down the walls. Oh, yes. So, re-roofing needs doing.
Right.
So, yes, I've been running around mopping up bits of carpet.
Bits of buckets, catching drips and leaks.
Indeed.
And stuff.
But I hear you got a new job, sir.
I did, so yeah, that's the other reason. So I've gone from being underemployed to overemployed, and now I'm very busy with that. So we're having to kind of rejig the old Shrimperscast, aren't we, a little bit? We will still be as busy as we can putting episodes out for all of you loyal listeners out there, but we may have the odd week where we skip an episode. So that's that dealt with. This week we've only got a mini pod. And that's because we don't have a guest lined up for this week's episode, but we are working hard as ever to try and get some guests on for future episodes, so keep your eyes peeled. But we have got plenty of things to discuss.
Yep.
Starting with, well, it's been a really tricky little festive period for Southend.
Well, yeah, getting done by the double by the Barnet, that was good fun.
Yeah.
But, I don't think we were out of our depth really against the high-flying bees, but having that embargo shifted just before the end of the year.
Yeah.
What a treat!
Shifted and lifted. So, I mean, for the first time, we're going to have a bit of a chat about, like, transfer rumours, which is like sounds like a foreign language to Southend fans. It's been a while, since any transfers in have been even on the cards. Well, there's that terrible pun again. But, really exciting. So we'll come on to that in a minute. But, 2 disappointing results against Barnet over Christmas. But Southend bounced back on Saturday at home with a great performance against Halifax.
In glorious fashion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Against a team that they've conceded the lowest amount of goals in the league, and we're just below them. In second, and we turned them over.
yeah. It was a great performance. I know, Paul, you couldn't make it in the end because of the leak and that stuff. So you're not too bitter about that. But I did manage to get along, and I was impressed. 3 minutes in, and you're quite near the hall, aren't you, in your leaky house? So you could probably hear the crowd going a bit crazy for that first goal. What a great opening to the game. Ralphie with the assist.
What a ball.
Great ball, lofted it, asked a few questions to their defenders. They didn't know how to deal with it. Probably could have dealt with it, but they sort of let it drop in behind. And Henry Sandat, I think I called him Harry in the first time I mentioned him. Henry Sandat took it so well. He sort of opened his body up onto his right foot and just slotted it in nicely past the keeper, 1-0. everyone's going.
I think he needed that goal, you know.
He did.
Especially after the last home outing at Barnet, where I think he was just lacking a bit of confidence.
I thought he looked a little bit out of his depth in that first game, but probably just nerves coming back to his club, and kind of settling in. I hear he's been warming up though. A mate of mine, shout out to my mate Lloyd, actually played against him the other week.
Right.
So he turned up on a Wednesday down at Chase at Goals for a 7-a-side.
As you do.
And the opposition, they're all, giving it the big chat. Yeah, we've got a pro, we've got a Hull City player turning out for us tonight. And they said, yeah, it's Henry Sandat.
Nice.
Anyway, my mate's team, 7-a-side, didn't even have 7 players. They only could field 6 because of availability. Didn't give me a ring, I don't know why. And guess what?
Go on.
They felled them. They beat Sandat's team with a man down, and they're thinking, God.
What was the score?
I don't know what the score was. All I know, the result was Sandat's team had 7 and possibly subs.
Right.
My mate's team had 6 and they still beat them. So, doesn't bode well for Southend's new striker. However, sorry if we've got Henry in trouble there, breaking his contract playing down at Goals. But he played really well against Halifax on Saturday. I actually think if it wasn't for Gus getting his 2 goals, I think Sandat was up there in the man of the match picture. He was just quality. He was getting involved, using his height. He obviously scored the goal, but he got on a really decent cross from Gus with his head. Probably should have done better, to be fair. Headed it over, but generally, away from the highlights reel, the stuff he was doing in the game, a lot of running, putting pressure on, just a good presence and definitely a good backup while he's down here on loan. So, yeah, really good. In terms of the rest of the match, I thought, to be honest, it was quite kind of scrappy. There was some quite intricate play, but Halifax was sitting quite deep, and there was a lot of sort of lump in it, and Southend not really playing their sort of passing game as well as we know they have done this season. And then they weathered a little bit of pressure. Colin coming up again, 2 really good saves in the second half. Halifax kind of coming on, putting the pressure on, and then obviously your boy steps up. Gus relieves the pressure. Some great work over on the left. I think it was Bridge and Ralphie kind of interplay, sort of knocking it around. Ralphie gets in behind, bit of skill, and then he cuts it back. Who's there? The goal machine. That must be the highest scoring right back in the National League.
Got to be up there, isn't he?
Got to be up there, and he's just absolutely flying at the minute. And then to cap off another great performance, he goes and scores the third to make it really comfortable. So absolutely great performance. You couldn't really fault much. There was a bit of a lull in the middle, but you're going to get that. They stuck to their game plan, they stuck to it, and it told in the end. So yeah, really, really great performance, bouncing back from that difficult period over Christmas.
Yeah, that's what we needed, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about Harry up there for man of the match. I think there's probably 2 or 3 other players that could have been up there for man of the match.
Yeah.
Both our wing-backs,
Yeah.
Gus and Ralphie. I mean, his turn.
Yeah.
In that, I think it was for the 3rd goal. Was that the 3rd one where Gus tapped it in?
Yeah. That was the second one.
Oh, second one. Well, what a turn.
Yeah. The sort of dropped his shoulder and he's gone. It was brilliant. Yeah. Really
I mean, I'm not surprised because down that left with Bridge, Wes, Fongo, and as you say, Ralphie, and that they link up really, really well.
Yeah.
And I think they're buzzing over the contracts.
Yeah.
They just got new 2.5-year deals.
Yeah.
And they turned it on.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
And I tell you what was really pleasing, aside from all that, was looking at the subs bench.
Oh, I didn't know what to do. When I saw that, was it
4 players?
4? What's going on?
Dreamland.
Oh, don't. And I got all excited and everything. I was running around with buckets of water, screaming my head off.
Yeah, I mean, Halifax only had 5, so...
There we are. We're competing.
Almost level. It's almost a level playing field now,
Fantastic.
So,
well, we got our new lad as well. How was he? It was his home debut, wasn't it? James Morton?
Yeah, I thought he was good. Sort of typical early on. Probably a little bit nervy, I thought, but good presence in midfield, sort of alongside Noor, kind of keeping the ball moving. And I thought he had a bit of bite to him as well. He's putting some nice, tough tackles in there and playing really well. So, yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking forward to seeing him. I think once he's settled in, like you say, for them first the first home game, you're always going to get a bit nervy. You want to put on a good, solid display, don't you? You don't want to kind of give away the odd pass or anything. You want to keep it nice and neat. So, like I say, nice to see that bit of bite with him. Yeah. I've seen some of his goals that he scored at Western-super-Mare and in and around the clubs that he's been on loan at. So he can hit them. Yeah. He can tackle. He can pass. So, he looks like a right talent.
Yeah, good little addition to midfield. And let's be honest, it's just bodies in it. Getting extra bodies in to take the pressure off. It's not been possible at all for so long that it kind of it's what the club needs and it's what the rest of the squad need to take a bit of that pressure off. That if you go down injured or maybe you have a little dip in form, you want that competition. You want people kind of pushing the training sessions to be as good as they can be. All that stuff that we all know about football has just not been there at Southend for so long. So the fact that they've weathered it so well, again, brilliant.
And you've got to say hats off to the consortium, sticking to their word. They said the minute they came in, once it's all been signed, the embargo's gone, and true to their word, it was uplifted, players in, contract signed.
Players in.
Money invested.
Yeah.
And I can't wait. The future is looking brilliant.
It really is. So, as we teased earlier, we are going to do a special section in a moment looking at transfers. But let's take a little bit of a break and we'll be very excited to talk about Southend United making some potential transfers in a moment.
Wallop.
Southend United have been under an embargo for 18 months at least.
Forever.
Forever, it seems like forever. And that has finally been lifted. So, as we just mentioned, there's been a few players in.
Yep.
And there are some names that are being talked about, some that we are really sure about, and some that just sound kind of quite fantasy football from where I'm sitting, but we'll talk them all through. But before we get there, before we get onto those names, let's welcome back someone. I mean, it's a classic cliche in football, but there's a man that came off the bench after a lengthy spell out, and he was like a new signing, wasn't he? There's the cliche.
There it is, Mr. Cav Miley. Welcome back. Back on the grass, back out there on the Rootsall pitch. Brilliant. And, give him more minutes. He is going to be like a new signing coming in at a pivotal point of the season now. If we can keep him fit, brilliant. What more do you need in that little midfield engine room going forward? I mean, you look at Cards, Powell and Martin. I mean, they're going to be a way off now.
Yeah.
So you can see where we need to strengthen. Yeah. And it was great, like we said just earlier on, about contracts being offered to Bridge and Ralph. They got new 2.5-year deals. Interesting one was Demetriou.
Yeah.
JD, right? They've only given him a contract to the end of the season.
Right.
Could he be retiring then and then moving into the coaching setup?
Right.
Because
maybe.
he's doing his badges and stuff, so maybe that might be on the table. So that'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. And of course, going forward, we'll see what happens with the rest of the team, where they activate clauses and extensions and all the rest of it. So that would be pretty cool. But the rumour mill, of course.
The rumour mill, come on. We've got Paul's previews, now we've got Paul's rumours as well. I'll have to do a jingle for that.
Well, this is it. I mean, the minute it was uplifted, we've been linked with every wonder kid in non-league football. Yeah. And we've been seeing memes and all sorts coming along with, John Steele, hold my beer, I'm off. Right, here we go, all of that stuff. But there was a few names that have been touted about. Obviously, Morton was one of them, and we ended up signing him. Yeah. One of them was Neil Harrison, our former player that we got from Sheffield United on loan. Yeah. And there was his loan would finish at Stevenage, and there was talk online that he might be coming back. But he's gone to Carlisle, which doesn't surprise me because he had a really successful loan out at Barrow. Okay. I think last season. Then he settled his, as up north. So
put his roots down up there.
It makes sense. One of the other ones is Danny Waldron. That name's pinging about quite a lot. He plays for Russell Olympic, a bit of a prolific striker there. I think he's 16 goals already this season. Wow. League below could be a really good addition. We know we do need another striker. We are missing goals, but again, that's just a rumour that we're seeing online. One big one that's been flying around is that may have upset Kevin Mayer a little bit because he was saying about the leaks online, was a certain defender that we're in talks with. And I was having a bit of digging online to see where it's come from. And it seems it's the Norfolk's Eastern Daily Press are the ones that have leaked this bad boy.
Right, okay.
Right, so and they report that Adam Crowther is now leaving the club. They say Kings Lynn have confirmed this, and as soon as the links to Southend came out, they published that it was going to be 35 grand with various sell-on clauses and the like. And he looks rather handy.
Nice.
Centre back, 23 years of age, very, very solid, very well thought of down there. 74 games he's played for them. For the Linnets, he's already started 19 this season. A very good player, and they seem to be quite upset that he is leaving. Well, they're not. They need the money.
Yeah.
But the fan base seem to be quite. He's off. But what are you going to do?
Well, they're gutted because Southend might be getting a good sign in there, and he obviously knows his way around the division.
Does indeed,
so, yeah.
And he fits the profile exactly of what we need.
Yeah.
And the one the fans have been calling for that I've noticed that flying around is that a certain ex-Premier League footballer has been released from Vissel Kobe, I think that's how you call him. And
This is my favourite.
Yeah, we're calling for Juan Mata.
Well, if Southend sign Juan Mata, then the transfer embargo Juan Mata anymore, will it?
You've been saving that all day, haven't you?
I've been saving it for years. Been trying to crowbar that gag in somewhere.
Well, yeah. But stranger things have happened in football.
Yeah.
We have seen some ex-Prem League footballers turn up. Would he drop down to the non-league? Maybe he might be looking at players like Will Grigg thinking, do you know what? If he can do it, I can do it. So we'll never say never.
So they called him Johnny Kills, right? So Juan Mata means, John Death, I think, in Spanish. So his nickname was Johnny Kills. So, you could imagine that down the cricketers or down the railway. Here he is, Johnny Kills. He's also known, isn't he, for being quite a cultural... I think when he was at Chelsea, people would just see him sort of wandering around the Tate and stuff. So, you might see him down the Beecroft at some point.
Having a wander down the pier.
Stroking his chin.
Yeah, why not? But, stranger things have happened in football. I mean, he's only 35, so he's still got a few years left in him.
What a player. I mean,
he was a good player,
absolute magic. Absolute magic. Some of the stuff he did in his early days with Chelsea, you just thought, wow, this guy is...
Proper talent.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I think he'll end up somewhere like, I don't know, Luton.
Yeah.
Possibly Swansea.
Yeah, warming the bench there.
But but I'm sure we're going to be linked with even more players coming through, and it's going to be just an exciting time now. I think Kev and the team know where they need to strengthen. I think John's already out there doing what he can, and Bridge said it in his interview that they still think they could probably challenge for a late promotion push.
Yeah,
it's going to be tight. It'll be marvellous if they do that.
Yeah.
But I think they're now laying down the foundations, bringing in the right players that we need to push for the title next season. That's my bet.
And if you think about it, John Steele obviously really highly rated with his scouting, and in one respect, I guess an embargo gives you plenty of time because you're not actually dealing with transfers, so you're probably spending a lot more time kind of scouting, putting your reports together, building that profile of the players you want. So I'd imagine they've got a really tight set of requirements and then a really tight list of prospects to kind of target. So, exciting times.
Very much so. I mean, we've missed out on loads of targets due to that embargo.
Yeah.
And players that have been linked with us that have gone on to do very well in this league and above. So, I can't wait. I cannot wait until next season because I think we're going to be a right force. Considering when you look who could come down, I mean, everyone, I'd love it if Colchester came down. No disrespect to our rivals, but, football's football, innit? Yeah. It'd be great to have them down in the National League and for us to go up as they come back down. What a story.
Well, let's hope. Okay, brilliant. So that's the first ever transfer rumour mill on Shrimperscast. It's a historic milestone. Thanks for delivering that for us, Paul.
I loved it.
Cheers. Let's have another break. Just a mini pod this week for Shrimperscast. Like I said earlier, we're hoping to be back with a full-on guest-laden episode next week. We're working really hard. Paul's got his file of facts out, all these names, dialed in all these sorts of, old dodgy people associated with Southend, trying to get them on the show. But this week we've only got a short one for you, so we're now moving into the third and final section, which is
Paul's previews.
Paul,
hello.
Every game's a big game, isn't it? Let's get the cliches out there.
Yeah.
Every game is a big game. And this week we are looking forward to an away trip to Eastleigh.
What a banger.
What a banger.
Yeah, followed by a home game to Wealdstone, which is also a banger. But let's get Eastleigh out of the way first, because I'm dead excited for this one. What a time to be playing Eastleigh. So that I think their heroics in the FA Cup have distracted them a little bit from the league because their form's tailing away. I mean, they've got a huge game coming up against Newport. So if they beat Newport, they can then have Manchester United at home in the FA Cup.
Doesn't come much bigger than that, does it?
And, we know all about that, having already beaten Man United in a cup game. So, looking at their form in the last 5 in the league, they've won 2, drawn 1, lost 2, and check out this stat. They've scored 14, conceded 15.
Woo!
I know.
So
that's madness, isn't it? But their last 5 at home, they've won 3, drawn 1, lost 1, scoring 10, conceding 8. So it's going to be it's always fiery when we go to Eastleigh. The last time we went there, their players were giving it a bit to our fans, so it's going to add a little bit of a,
Plenty of away fans will be travelling there, right?
Absolutely. But what a time to be playing them. Like I say, the league form has tailed away just a little bit now. We are favourites going into this game, looking at the bookmakers' odds, but never really look at them. But they've got 2 strikers up top that, they are banging form. One especially, Paul McCallum, is it 22 goals in 23 appearances?
Wow.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then the non-league goal machine, Scott Quigley. I mean, he's in 9 in 22 as well. But, they've got a great, what a strike force up top. But we shouldn't fear them, really, at all. I've got nothing to worry about, really, with them. I mean, their last 2, they've lost. They lost 1 to Dagenham 4-1. And then they drew with Dagenham on the return 4-4.
Right.
So what time to be playing them?
Yep.
And we need to pick up our away form. So we need to be going there really positive on the back of that Halifax 3-0 win.
Yeah.
Going in there and just going for the win. We know we can beat them, and they're there for the taking, in my opinion.
So going into the game, Eastleigh are sitting in 11th on 37 points, and Southend are 15th on 31 points. Obviously, add the 10 on and, we're on 41 and ahead and pushing for that promotion. So, it's not all doom and gloom, is it? And I think Southend should be looking to take that positivity, like you say, from the Halifax game and go up there and try and score a few goals. So then they're coming thick and fast, aren't they? So we're going to do a double preview today because we're not sure if we'll get another pod recorded in time for Tuesday night. You're not going to be able to make it, are you? So I might see if I can pop along on the old Shrimperscast season ticket.
There we are.
And it's welcoming Wealdstone. This is the most delayed game in history. It's been...
Yeah, we went to play it back in 1998.
Yeah, it's been pushed back a few times. I think Blur were at number 1 last time. That doesn't work because they could still be at number 1 because they're still going. Oasis. There we go. So we welcome Wealdstone to Roots Hall on
3
Tuesday
days
night.
later.
Yeah, a week today as we record this on Tuesday. What have you got for us?
Well, again, these are another team. It's going to be a real tricky one. Always is against Wealdstone. In their last 5, they've won 3, drawn 1, lost 1, scoring 11, only conceding 8. Away, though, on the road, they've won 2, they haven't drawn, and they've lost 3, scoring 4, conceding 4. So they're quite... hit and miss on the road, but all to play for there with them as well. Again, their form is just tailing off. They lost last time out on the road to Ebbsfleet, so confidence is really going to be, not really there. They've got an ex-Blues man with them, Nathan Ferguson. He's played 19 games this season with only the 1 goal.
Right.
He came back. I think he got sent off the last time he was down at the Hall, if I remember rightly.
That's always
back in
nice,
April.
isn't it?
Yeah. So he's going to come back. I'm sure he won't get sent off again, but he's certainly going to want to come back and give it his all.
Point to prove,
as they always do. But they've got a few danger men in their team. They've got goals throughout the team in midfield, defence, and up top. I think their danger man is Sean Adarkwa. 8 goals in 19 appearances. And then the legend that is Tavon Campbell. He's at 5 in 18. But one player in particular I would be keeping an eye on is the defender Jack Cook. Currently on 4 goals, which is pretty decent, I guess. Only Gus beats him, I think. But he's looking, is Jack, now to equal his career best of 5 goals. So I'm sure he's going to be looking to bang one in from a corner or whatnot.
Absolutely.
So we've got to look to keep him quiet and ruin his evening, because it will be Tuesday evening, won't it? But again, so 2 games in 3 days. So we're going to be looking at, hopefully, it's a double bubble, isn't it? Get that 6 points and then,
the prize is there to be won. So,
dreamland.
Wealdstone are just below Eastleigh in 12th as it stands. So obviously, depending on what happens with the fixtures, the results, that may change. But essentially, 2 clashes against 2 decent mid-table teams. But like you say, take those 6 points. And
that will throw us in the top 12.
Yeah, climbing up that table.
I mean, the teams just outside the playoffs, a few of them have got games in hand. I mean, Eastleigh FA Cup run, you've got the FA Trophy and the like. So, anything can happen in football that would, say if we did win those 2, we're in touching distance of the playoffs. Yeah. And Jack Bridge may have a point then. We might sneak into the playoffs, but you never know.
It's that time of the season as well where teams, they do go on little runs, don't they? They get that busy period over the festive period out of the way, and then you might put a string of results together, and then all of a sudden it's
going in our favour, right?
Yeah.
We're out of every cup going.
Yeah.
With no embargo players coming in.
Yeah.
Players coming back from injury.
Yeah.
Scoring goals as well. So it's all there for the taking. We could steamroll and sneak into that playoffs, but
let's see.
I'm sure we wouldn't begrudge them if we didn't. But I'm pretty sure though, going for the title next season is going to be the priority, isn't it?
Woo! Big talk there from Paul.
I know,
talk,
mate.
Going for the title.
I am.
Well, thanks everyone out there for listening to this edition of Shrimperscast. Massive thanks to Paul.
Always a pleasure, never a chore, sir.
And huge thanks to all of you out there. So if you don't already, I'm sure you do, but if you don't already, please subscribe or follow us on the old socials or wherever you're listening to the podcast. And the best thing you can do for us is share the podcast. Send the link. We've all got our Southend United supporting mates. Ping the link over on WhatsApp. Say, hey, listen to this. This is a good little podcast about Southend United. That will do us a massive favour.
Also, Happy New Year.
Oh, yeah, sorry. We're so rude. We nearly forgot to say Merry Christmas. And Paul remembered to say Happy New Year. So, no, we're not. We're not rude. We're lovely. So, that's it from us. And we shall hope to see you next week. Up the Blues.
Up the Blues.